Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And this is my October book wrap up. Are you ready? Okay, I'm so ready for this. All right, so I thought I actually read more, but like I knew what books I was gonna finish, which I didn't finish. So I did not read as many as I thought I read in October. I read 9 books in the month of October. I thought I was gonna read like 12, and then like I went in and I counted them on my Goodreads, and I hadn't. But I think 9 is still a lot of books, so I'm very proud of myself. Okay, number 1, the first book that I read was Silent Child by Sarah Denzel. And I gave this book, I think I gave it like a 4.5. I gave it like 5 stars on Goodreads, which I'm saving the 5s for like really phenomenal books. This mystery was so good. It was like very much The Girl in the Red Coat, or Girl on the Train, In the Water, all of those books. I loved it. It was fantastic, okay? And I put on here, bravo, such a great mystery and thriller. And it was, like, I mean, I never really kind of knew where the book was going, and it could have gone in 50 different directions, but it didn't. And when I was at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, like, I never saw that coming. So I love books like that. I love books that are very, very simple for the reader to understand, even though the mystery is complicated, if that makes sense. So go check out Silent Child by Sarah Denzel. After each one, I will slow down and read it so that you guys can write it down if you want, because I'm not going to post them below there for that one. The next one is The Library of Souls by the Ghost Talker Files by Richard Denny, who is Richard's Book Nook, now Richard's Media Geek. He changes the title of his channel all the time, and I love Richard. And I gave his book like a 4.5 out of 5. Okay, listen. If I had gone in and I had given his book a 5, okay, because it was fantastic, okay? But if I had given it a 5, everybody would have been like, well, you just gave it a 5 because he's your friend. And I don't like when people do that. So I was like, but it deserved, I mean, it was really good. So anyway, go check it out. Library of Souls by Richard Denny. It's fantastic. It's a really cute middle grade book. I literally read it in like one setting. It's just, it actually had a lot of like old school references to like other like middle grade like scary books and movies, and I love that. And at first I was like and then I was like, oh my God, like it's purposeful, like, and it was done very, very well. I was just really impressed with it. Number 3, I read Origin by Dan Brown, and I'm a huge Dan Brown fan. I've read everything that he's written. And so I was, well, that's not true. There's one book of his that I haven't read, and that I just couldn't get into, Digital Fortress. I was so excited about this book, you guys, and I ended up giving it 5 stars because it's just so well researched and it's so fantastic. Every one of his books is just an authentic adventure, but it really wasn't like, I don't know, like it wasn't my favorite. The one that takes place in Washington, D.C., or Williamsburg, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called The Symbol. Is that it? That's my favorite of his. So, it was okay. It was pretty good. Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This was my big disappointment of October. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I will tell you that I have watched numerous reviews of this book now, and it's interesting because I think a lot of people, out of their love of John Green, are making excuses for this book. And it's really sad because I think that if it was written by somebody that nobody knew, you wouldn't allow the same excuses. And I think that's where, you know, our integrity as booktubers and book reviewers has to hold true. Don't read into what you think you're reading. Read what's there, you know? Does that make sense? Like, you know, we all have our favorite authors, just like, you know, they're all of our, like, favorite movie stars and singers and stuff like that. But if they put out a shit song, they put out a shit song, okay? And Turtles All the Way Down just was not well developed. I don't care what anybody says to me. I'm going to reread the book just because I want to be fair to it. But it just, you know, like, and I'm just going to use this as an example. And these are things that I will say that people will be like, I'm unsubscribing to you. But like, I said something to the effect of the fact that you don't read into her anxiety really much through the first half of the book, or her OCD, through the first half of the book. And I got a couple comments and people were like, but that's how he wanted it to be because it's more natural that way. And I'm like, that's where you're making excuses for the author, and that's never okay, okay? The book felt like a rush job to me. If you really read the book as a John Green lover, the first half reads completely different than the second half. And it's just, you know, I'm not giving up on him. I'll continue to read him, but let's be for real. There are a lot of people out there that can't stand Abundance of Catherines and say all kinds of shit about it in ways that it works 10 times better than this one did. So I don't know what's happened to him. I think that he tried to recreate something that was going to be very emotionally deep. It just wasn't for me. I just was not invested in the character. So, you know, that's how I felt about it, and that's my review. And the one thing I love about, you know, Booktube is that we can all have different opinions about things, and you know, it's okay, and we can have a discussion. We don't have to be like, oh, you didn't like this book, well, I hate you. You know, it's like, every time somebody comes out and they're like, I can't stand Fangirl, I'm always like, okay, like, okay, Peter, hold it together. I mean, because I love that book, right? But I hated Attachments. So, anyway. Okay, no, I liked Attachments, I hated Landline. But that has nothing to do with this. Okay, next one, All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. And the other thing I want to say really quick about that is that, you know, like when I watch people's reviews that are so different than mine, I learn a lot more about the book from another person's point of view. So I never shut them out or unsubscribe to them just because they don't agree with me on a book. I mean, that's so silly to me, right? That you allow me to see a different perspective about a book. And I think that's fantastic, and that's the discussion. I mean, that's where we should really be having the discussion. All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. I feel like I've talked about this book so many times in this last month. It was fantastic. 5 out of 5 stars. It was so beautifully written. I think it's an instant classic. I think it really took her to another level, honestly, because I'm reading Raven Boys right now, and I love Raven Boys, but it's not anything near All the Crooked Saints. I mean, it's like, where did she come from as a writer? Like, over from these, I mean, like, her craft has really risen. It is so fantastically written, so beautifully written. I mean, it's just so well done and so comical at the same time that it's very endearing. So please go read it. It's my #1 recommendation right now. A Stranger in the House by Sherry Lapina I read it for the Spookathon group read. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was okay. I mean, it was a mystery like mysteries that you get at the gas station, at the grocery store in the paperback. It was nothing that great. I will tell you, I probably would have given it 3 out of 5 stars if it wasn't for the last, like, 2 pages of the book. And honestly, it's so funny because somebody said, I think it was Jen's Reviews, said that she had it as a 5 and the last 2 pages made her give it a 4 or a 3 or something. So isn't it funny how we all do, like, see things differently like that? It was just okay. I wasn't like, you know what I mean? Okay, Siege by Rhiannon Frater was the last book in the As the World Dies trilogy. I loved it. It's a zombie trilogy. If you like zombie trilogies, go read it. If you like zombie series, it's fantastic. It's my favorite series of zombie books of life, As the World Dies. It's just, spaghetti and meatballs. I love it. It's fantastic. It's so good, and I love Rhiannon Frater. Okay, and then I read Final Girls by Riley Sager. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, actually. And I thought it would be a young adult book, and so I thought it would be really cheesy, but it's not. It's an adult book. It kind of plays like, it's very noir. Like, it feels like, you know the movie to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? Or what's the movie with Scarlett Johansson where she's like, she takes a drug? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's called like Lulu or something. Lily. It reads very dark like that. It's very, very dark, mystery. You kind of don't trust the narrator, so it makes it even like more uncomfortable and edgy. She's very untrustworthy as a narrator. And the other characters are very untrustworthy, and the whole book is untrustworthy, and so you never know where you're going. And so it does very much play kind of like a horror movie, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, the whole idea of this final girl, like from a horror movie, is where it comes from. But, you know, I thought it was different than anything that I had read. So I liked that kind of whole aspect of it. I think it could have been done a little bit different. I think it could have been done, you know, a little bit more dark alleyways, that kind of stuff. There were some scenes like Central Park that very much reminded me of like Still of the Night back in the day with like Meryl Streep, those kind of like 80s scary movies that like, you know, kind of like she was paying homage to that a little bit, which I thought that was fantastic. It's definitely a thriller, not a horror novel. I mean, it's just nothing gruesome. And I will say that I loved the ending. The ending just sealed the deal for me. I thought it was fantastic. Okay, and I think I only have like one more left. So let's see. Oh, the last one was Hell House by Richard Matheson that I read. And I have to tell you, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because I just thought it was so well done for what it was. And Richard Matheson, who also wrote like Stir of Echoes and those books, I mean, he is just a genius writer. He passed away a while ago. I think 2003 he passed away, or 2011. But the book was not what I thought it would be going into it. It was interesting because when I talked about it before, a lot of people commented and said that it was very degrading to women. I found it extremely degrading to women. I didn't find the horror that scary, but I will tell you that there was a period of it when I was listening to it on Audible, driving out in the country, and I literally had to turn it off. I got so scared. And that never happens to me. And if you guys have watched my vlog channel, my main channel, where I talk about Herb Baumeister, the serial killer, and we went to his house and did like an investigation. I was driving around that area, and it pokes into the paranormal and parapsychology issues, and it's very real how it reads, and it's terrifying, and on that level, it's very much in the mind, if that makes sense. And kind of how Stir of Echoes was. I've seen the movie, but not the book, or read the book. I think the movie was with Kevin Bacon. But it did the same thing, and I had to turn it off. I was like, I want to be in City Lights before I'm listening to this book. So, I'm still reading Trick or Treat, which was a scholastic novel. I read like 2 pages a day, and I love it. I just eat it up, but the characters are so cheesy. They're like, we held hands and ran through the rain. Things like that. She ran to her room and slammed the door and went in her bed and just bawled her eyes out. It's so funny, right? And then I'm also listening to Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill on Audible, and I'm really struggling getting into it, you guys, okay? Like, I'm 2 hours into it right now, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really buying into all of this. I cannot keep the girlfriend's ex's name straight. There's like so many ex-girlfriends. I like the idea of it though, so I'm like, fingers crossed it'll get better and get very, very scary, very, very spooky. On the heels of Hell House, I don't need any more paranormal books right now. So I don't know, I'm gonna read something, you know, like next month, like Anna Green Gables or something. Anyway, that was my November wrap up. I read 9 books, and yeah, so I'm right at 50 for the year, and my goal is, my Goodreads goal was 100, so I don't know, will I make it? Will I not make it? Will I read 50 books in 2 months? Doubtful, so I do have a box full of Goosebumps books in the garage, but all right, you guys, I love you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.